In the section of the meeting of other matters, we have 3 speakers. This is not a matter on the agenda about which we're taking a vote, but we have extra time today, so we are delighted to have you speak. If you could keep your comments, please, to 2 minutes each. The first we have is Charles Marsala.
Thank you, Councilman Head. The other 2 cards have given their 2 minutes to me, so I'll go for 6. I've addressed you guys a few times in the past, most recently on the pension issue, and I do want to give you an update on that. As you know, I was a former mayor in California. I'm from here and went out to California for about 30 years, was in Silicon Valley. Recently, New Orleans was listed as one of the top 5 cities for unfunded pensions and of places of risk.
But there are 4 others that are worse than us, maybe.
There's 300
That's
cities
a
in
joke.
America.
I think that's
I'm
third.
I'm with you on that, and there are 300 other cities. So, as you know, you guys have dropped off. Your funding unfunded pension liabilities have increased tremendously in the last few years, and if you go to a more accurate annual rate of return, you lose about another 6 to 10% on your funding ratios. So that's definitely something to think about. The other thing I recently talked, I had signed the Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement back in 2006 when it was actually called the Kyoto Climate Protection Agreement. And we did it on our own and implemented a few programs, and I spoke to your newly formed Environmental Committee. One thing to be concerned about is the Paris Agreement is different in that it obligated America to make payments to other countries. And understand right now there's talk at the Mayor's Conference of cities implementing the Climate Protection Agreement on its own. And the question would be, is New Orleans going to start sending money overseas if they want to implement it to the full extent of what Paris calls for? Because Paris says that America owes money to several other countries for our abuse. And I think we could do a lot more in Louisiana with that money by planting trees and reforestation to cut down on CO2 that we have in Louisiana and perhaps do more good on CO2 reduction. The other thing that I'm here to talk to you about is an initiative, and I've given you guys information on this, which I call the New Orleans Smarter Inauguration. And we've been working on getting the signatures to put this on the ballot. As a former council member, I know you guys could do it on your own. So we will hopefully get to the 10,000, but if you want to implement it, please do before we get there. The deal is like you just did all these appointments. Next year, the people that get elected won't take office till late May or early June, and these appointments should be being vetted by those newly elected people. Also, I saw that the Bourbon Street contract was authorized in March, and it's for a full year. So you have a situation where next year, front-loading of contracts could be done. And some of those are sole source, which if you've got a mayor and incumbent council members spending money and obligating the new guys, that's not what the League of Women Voters had in mind in 2011 when they started this evaluation on why they should move up both the election and the inauguration of the New Orleans City Council and Mayor. So for that end, and Citizens for Better New Orleans actually gave them an award for their efforts to do this. We've published a website called Nola, smartinauguration.org, and we're out right now, I have a couple of people with me, are the petition gatherers, to get it on the ballot. So maybe it's something you guys could take the initiative and go ahead and put it on a city council agenda and consider putting it on the ballot in November before we get the signatures. Obviously, like I said, we need to get to 10,000. That would allow better transformation of power, and that's going to take effect right now in 2022. It's been delayed till the next time it happens. So it's an 11-year process to get that done. The next thing I wanted to talk about.
Mr. Marsala, while you're on that topic.
Yes.
Oh, I'm cutting into your time.
That's fine.
Okay. So is that the petition drive that's going on that says that the council and the mayor are in this through May to make their pensions bigger? I believe it's all over.
It doesn't say that that's the reason, though, ma'am.
No, well, it says it on all the materials, and perhaps you should know that for the council under the state constitution, this is a part-time job. We have no pensions.
Okay.
Okay?
I will make sure that wherever that is correct, and I apologize for ever put that up. I think when they were looking at all the factors, I didn't realize you guys didn't get a pension, but I'll make sure it's addressed because it's a side effect that if you get a full year or more months, that obviously a pension would be larger, but that's not the main cause. I mean, the main reason why I just addressed it was because the League of Women Voters policy on it.
But it is insulting to begin with,
My apologies.
and it's false.
I'll make sure that it's corrected.
Thank you.
The next thing that I wanted to address is I do a lot of documentaries, and right now I'm making some on human trafficking. So right now I'm making a documentary on human trafficking. And I realize you guys just formed a committee to address the problem in New Orleans of human trafficking, modern day slavery. It was about juvenile issue. It was about 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting that was assigned juvenile sex trafficking in New Orleans as a topic. And that is right now, there's 29 million people in the world that are currently in modern day slavery. They rescue in New Orleans, French Quarter, on the average, a person every other day. And they're in homes where we've done some work with to help rehabilitate these young girls. Most of them are under 18. The issue there becomes, could we have used these monuments and the other ones that haven't been taken down to educate about modern day slavery and what could be done? And most of these organizations, Loyola's a big one, they say the first thing that can happen is awareness, and then education, and then empowerment. Robert E. Lee had said slavery is a moral and political evil. We also know that PGT Beauregard said equal rights, one country, one flag, one people. So we look at what these guys did as far as empowering people to get out of slavery. There was an issue there. And we have 6 other monuments that also could be looked at as how they could be better utilized. So for that end, I would say like to take a look at what went on with that era and any other monuments before you remove them. The city of St. Louis, on their charter, they give monuments back to the people that donated them to the city. And as I researched the monuments, I didn't find that there was a malice with doing it, that these were, especially Beauregard, the neighbors of him liked him so much that they wanted to put up a monument to honor all he had done for New Orleans. Jeff Davis made sure the railroad came to New Orleans in the 1850s as opposed to Chicago. So looking at a thing you might assign to the Historic Commission is the charter says you to use monuments to educate and inform. So could the charter of New Orleans be applied to do that with these monuments that we currently have?
Okay, Mr. Marsala, if you could please bring your comments to close.
Will, 30 seconds here. Our site on how to do that, and we've made documentaries on these men, is savenolaheritage.org. There's also one thought that New Orleans could be a World Heritage Site, and these monuments that we have could help create that. I've done work on a World Heritage Site in Northeast Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other